couple of weeks ago, the people organizing the March for Science here in southeastern Connecticut asked me to get some drone footage of it. And that's a really good opportunity for covering an event with a drone. Event coverage with a drone has a lot of complications that don't come around when you're covering an event with something like a flightless camera. So let's talk about it.
This video is brought to you by Skillshare. Skillshare is the online learning community with more than 13,000 classes in photography, aerial videography, design, and more. Anybody can take a class, try a project, and even teach a class if they want to. It starts as low as $10 a month, but you can get a free trial by using the promo code Northrup3. Check the description for a link.
First thing is some amount of planning is really necessary. And I started out just looking at Google Maps to scope out the location where they were going to be marching. But then before the actual event, I needed to come down here to really get my hands and feet in the area so I could see exactly where I'd be launching from and where I'd be flying. I had to talk to the event organizers and find out the precise path of the march, so know the area that you're going to be covering. And once I knew where they're going to be walking, which is along this boardwalk that you see behind me, I had to think about where I could be to get that coverage. So, of course, legality is the first thing. I checked the FAA's Before You Fly app to make sure that it was okay to fly here. Made note of things like the nuclear power plant that's over here. And the next thing was safety. I made a point of looking for things like trees and power lines. You'll see that there are distinct power lines over here. There's also train tracks over there. There's a high-speed rail that comes through here. These are all things that I need to factor in to make sure that I can fly safely. And of course, if you're shooting an event, there's going to be people here who aren't familiar with your drone. And one thing you want to do is never fly over their head. At all times, you need to be expecting the drone to fail and either fall straight down or follow its momentum forward or get carried by the wind, or maybe one prop will die and it'll end up spinning out. So you need to think about your flight path and make sure that even in the event of a disastrous fail, even in the event that you lose control, people are going to be relatively safe. Now let's talk about the gear that you need to bring. I brought a Phantom 4 Pro. We have an Inspire, a DJI Inspire, which is a much bigger drone and could have been better in some ways, but I felt like the Phantom 4 Pro would be better for an event because, well, it's smaller and lighter, so if something did go wrong, the odds of serious injury are going to be much less. Also, it's more common, so people are a little less intimidated by it. Make sure that you have a battery that is fully charged and that you have an extra battery. And in fact, while you're at it, you might want an extra drone if that's an option, because if you need to get the shot, drones fail. So having a second camera around is always good. Make sure that you have a memory card that has plenty of free space, and that before you take off, you need to actually record to it and make sure it's okay. Again, safety is paramount, so with any flight, you should be double checking the props, making sure that they're all on tight. And I don't normally use prop guards, but for this particular shoot, I did put on prop guards because I knew there were going to be kids there. It's a beach, there are going to be kids and dogs, and that's like the scariest thing with a drone. So a kid might come up and try to grab it or something, and prop guards aren't like 100% safe, but they definitely reduce the risk of injury.
I'm not going to go too deep into videography techniques in this video, but be sure to get wide, medium, and tight coverage. If you want to know more, Skillshare has an amazing introduction to aerial videography classes that you can watch for free with your trial. You can even see the drone video projects other students have made. Thanks for sponsoring this video, Skillshare.
This rail here was really a godsend. It meant that I'd be able to film on this side and people wouldn't be able to go after it. I needed to cover about a mile where people were going to be marching, and I could see, I had good visibility from the spot that I picked, but the challenge was information overload, really. As you're looking at the screen, you're filming video, so you want to be watching what the camera is filming, but if you're watching what the camera is filming, you're not watching the drone itself. And particularly because I was flying sideways and backwards, it would be possible for the drone to fly into something that I could not see on the camera. So one way you can mitigate the risks of crashing into something is to use a second visual observer. You could have somebody positioned far out along your flight path, maybe half a mile away, and they could be keeping an eye on the drone and communicating with you using your earbuds on your phone. You can hear them and talk back and forth, and they can just let you know if you're getting a little too close to people, if there's a dog that's flipping out, or if something is coming up, maybe there's a kite surfer or somebody in the air who might interfere with the drone. It's good to have that second set of eyes. I also found it really useful to have somebody standing right next to me, because in the course of flying, it's common for people to come up and start to talk to you about it and ask you questions, but you kind of need somebody to run interference because you need to have your attention 100% on the drone and on the camera. I'm sure in 5 years, nobody's even going to take notice of a drone, but today people still really take notice of drones. It's the first drone some people have seen. And out of 1,000 people at the march, most people were super excited about it. And a lot of people talked to me about it afterwards. But one person out of all those people expressed some concern. They were like, oh, I saw the drone. I didn't know what it was there for. I was a little worried. And I didn't know what that meant. Like maybe some agency is trying to spy on them and they decided the most efficient way would be to make a super loud and obvious camera follow them around. I don't know, if somebody was going to spy on you, they'd probably do something a little more discreet. But be aware of public opinion. For the most part, people are excited and curious, and you'll have a lot of questions to answer. If you're getting serious about your drone work, subscribe to this channel. Also go back and check out my how to fly a drone video. That's really important. Learn how to handle that thing to fly safely. Also, if you're getting serious, check out my FAA certification guide. If you're in the US, that FAA certification is gonna enable you to legally do commercial work where you get paid. So subscribe, like. If you have any follow-up questions or suggestions from events you've covered, still a very new field, so add a comment down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks and bye.
Don't forget to check out over 2 hours of aerial videography tutorials at Skillshare by visiting sdp.io/Skillshare3 and using the promo code Northrup3. Thanks for sponsoring us, Skillshare.